Okay. Also, on net zero, it looks as though we're heading towards, an all systems go kind of situation towards net zero. But the Nats have weighed into it over the weekend, saying, well, the agriculture sector should get a bit of a pass here. What do you make of this? Is that a reasonable trade-off?
Well, I think it's entirely reasonable for the Nationals to speak up for their constituents in rural and regional Australia. And I think, look, there will be sectors here that, find this harder to adjust to, and sectors that find it easier to adjust to. And, of course, we need to make allowances for that. I just make the point, though, that there are some huge opportunities for rural and regional Australia in this energy transition that's underway around the world. I mean, just a few weeks ago, there was a farm down near Yass, a cattle farm, that sold a huge amount of carbon credits to Microsoft for about $500,000 worth. And all they've done is change their grazing practices on the land to allow it to better regenerate soil carbon and store soil carbon. So, this isn't only people are right to be nervous about what the future holds, but I think there's a huge opportunity here. It might also be in renewable energy, it might be in producing low emission steel or low emissions aluminium. So I think we need to keep an eye on all of this. Obviously, we don't want any group of Australians to bear more of their burden in this, but I think I'm really optimistic about some of the opportunities that will flow Australia's way as a result of this energy transition.
And do you fear if we go down this route that, some sectors get a pass, then other sectors will put their hands up and go, OK, hang on, well, what about us?
Well, I think the point to make here, and the Prime Minister often makes this, is, CO2 doesn't have any nationality, emissions don't have any nationality, and the Earth's environment doesn't know whether a tonne of carbon dioxide has come from an industrial plant in the city, or whether it's come from an automobile, or whether it's come from a farm. And the reason that we're all doing this as a world is to reduce and eliminate over time CO2 emissions, so that the planet doesn't warm further than it already has. Now, I think that's the main thing here, how we do that behind the borders and how we figure out the burden sharing that might come with that. I think every nation will do that, but let's not lose sight of the main purpose here. It's to actually reduce our CO2 emissions. Yeah,
and so you don't have any doubt that regional Australia would cop it if we go down the net zero emissions path?
Look, I don't think regional Australia will cop it, and certainly that's not anyone's intention. But I'd say, look, the area where the world has made the most progress so far is really in our electricity generation network in terms of reducing our emissions. We've gone to renewable energy at a large pace. But the things that are still going to be difficult and we've all got ahead of us are things like heavy industry, are things like transport, including aviation, and are things like agriculture, where we don't yet know how we're going to get to net zero. Is it going to be a change to practices? Is it going to be offsets? How are we going to do that? So these are challenges we need to solve, but I'm confident that, with technology, with science and research and with development, we will be able to solve them.